Story 1. Randomly said she had dissociative identity disorder and suddenly switched alternate personalities every 2 seconds. I am not mentally stable enough for both of us. Story 2. A week ago, he couldn't be bothered to make more time for me than once a week, as if that was asking too much. It is disappointing because I really liked him and thought we were very compatible, but obviously not. He believes he shouldn't have to compromise at all in a relationship. Relationships are fine as long as they don't require any actual effort on his part and are not an inconvenience to his way of life. Why even date with that mindset? Many people nowadays would rather walk away at the first sign of a problem and try to find someone else instead of working through issues with the person they are already with. Of course, sometimes you have to walk away, but I mean small issues like someone expressing that their needs aren't being fully met, not big issues. People seem disposable now. I hate it. Story 3. I realized she was going to eat herself to an early grave. Also, I was dieting and did not want a girlfriend who weighed twice as much as I did. Story 4. At the end of February this year, he had a lot of issues and I got tired of them also being my issues. I loved him so much, but I love myself too, and the constant stress was not good for me. Story 5. It ended last year. We had love, but not the kind of compatibility that lasts. I think we both walked away better people. Story 6. August 2022. 3 months away from getting married. He left his Facebook logged into my PC, and my gut screamed at me to look. I found messages to sex workers asking for prices and inappropriate messages to other women. He claims he never did anything physical, but all the condoms I found hidden around the house suggest otherwise. I also found him on certain websites and he had done things like this before. I was 100% financially supporting us both, doing all the chores when I had the energy. When I asked for the bare minimum, he would huff and puff, making it seem like I was asking for an impossible task. He also hit a female bouncer a few months before this and ended up in accident and emergency after he got his ass kicked, rightly so. The reason I stayed so long was because he was mentally unstable, and I was worried if I left, he would hurt himself badly and I would be blamed. I am ashamed I stayed so long. I should have ended things early on, as all the red flags were there, but I was wearing rose-tinted glasses. Story 7. She dumped me, but it was a blessing in disguise. Her family hated me for being white and disabled, but she also made me walk on eggshells and not express any feelings. I felt a sense of relief shortly after and soon met my amazing wife. Story 8. She canceled on me for the 3rd week straight and then tried to play the victim card, saying I should understand that she has other friends. I do understand that, but texting me 20 minutes before I am supposed to pick her up to say she is going out or making plans with someone else is not acceptable. That was 3 years ago. Story 9. Dated for 8 years. He turned 30 and decided his career was more important than getting married or having children. A decade later, he sent me an email because I had blocked him on everything. He wanted to catch up and find out if I was in a relationship. I blocked him and never responded to the email. Story 10. In September last year, I realized that our paths did not align. We were graduating from junior high, and he wanted me to stay at our school for senior high so we could remain close to each other. However, I wanted to transfer to a school where I had a greater opportunity to pursue the course I had dreamed of. He wanted to stay the same, to remain comfortable with the life we had now. I wanted to grow, change, evolve, and seize opportunities. I was miserable in what he called comfortable. I knew I was made to chase the stars. I could not live like that or accept my life staying the same. You could say he was sunshine and I was midnight rain. Another reason was I became aware that I was a red flag. He was a very loving, genuinely kind person who deserved the world, and I knew I could not give him what he deserved. We ended on bad terms due to misunderstandings and mounting arguments, but I wish him all the best. Story 11. June 2022. He had completely quit his job after a particularly late night out instead of just calling in sick. He proceeded to rot in my bed at my mother's house, smoking all my weed and not bothering to clean up after himself, all while not looking for a new job. I put up with it for a while because I have been there. Depression and early adulthood are rough. I finally broke it off when I realized I had gotten myself into an emotional affair because I could no longer stand to look at him. Story 12. She immigrated to my country for me and was unhappy for a while because she had very few friends and faced some personal hardships. I did my best to make life as nice as possible for her, even moving cities to live close to a work colleague and friend of hers. Shortly after the move and after a long holiday to her own country, she became extremely distant. We were essentially living alongside each other instead of with each other. I tried to communicate and work together to find the issue and fix it, but one day I came home to find she had packed her belongings and was ready to move back to her mother and country. She explained that she did not feel at home in my country and therefore not in the relationship, and then she left. 3 months later, she moved back to my country, even to the same city, and is still here. So clearly, that reason was not entirely truthful. I called her out on it, and she said she was simply done with the relationship, which seemed like a very unsatisfactory explanation to end a 4.5-year relationship. This was almost 2 years ago, and I still struggle with the aftermath. Utter loneliness, not having anyone nearby, and a very expensive apartment I cannot leave. Story 13. A few months ago, she decided she did not want to spend the rest of her life with someone who was not Christian. Story 14. 7 months ago, because she physically and mentally abused me. She also damaged the house and destroyed many items. Story 15. 3 years ago, more or less. She wanted to move after 6 months of dating. I ended it. A few months later, I received a direct message from a man saying he thinks she is pregnant and that I am the father. I confronted her, and she said no. I went through mediation and the court process, and they required her to take a test. The little boy is indeed mine. I have limited contact. We are currently on a 9-day holiday together. Story 16. In 2013, I was really depressed, drinking a lot and smoking a lot of marijuana in college. One night, when I was very drunk and on the phone with my ex, I told her I loved her sister. That is how it ended. 3 years ended like that. Oh well, I have been single for 12 years now. Story 17. He lacked character, emotional stability, and mental stability. There was always something wrong with me if I pointed something out in him. It was hard as it was, and he lacked self-awareness. Story 18. Last year, I struggled to be a stepdad to an 8-year-old stepdaughter and a 16-year-old stepson and was not emotionally mature enough. Story 19. She asked me if it was okay to break up if she was tired. I said yes. Then we broke up. For some reason, no one believes that is how it happened. Story 20. 5 years ago, I dated a guy who approached me first and then asked me to be his girlfriend. Later, I found out he was still with his ex-girlfriend, and his ex-girlfriend told him to be with me so as not to hurt my feelings. I was not in love with him at first at all. They both betrayed me. Story 21. July 28, 2022. The relationship was going downhill quickly, and she just didn't love me anymore. She strung me along until she finally decided to break up with me for the man she had been cheating on me with for 3 months. The second man. I only remember the date because they got together in August and sent a picture of their food on their date. They were together for 4 years and got married within half that time. Story 22. I moved out of state and she did the same. We tried working it out, but distance said otherwise. Oh well. Story 23. The last serious relationship ended because this woman cursed so intensely that she could make the paint on nearby walls crumble. My family was very conservative. I really liked her, so I did my best to ask her that if she met my family, she would not get wild and begin cursing in multiple languages. I mean, I once said a bad word at the dinner table near my family, and they accused me of being drunk. This was before I met her. She angrily refused to acknowledge that she cursed so hard, so often, or so loudly and without warning. Because of this, I had to break up with her over this single issue she refused to even recognize as something she might easily control at social events. We got back together on and off over the years. She drunk-dialed me a couple of times, but what upset me most was that it was much more difficult to accept her terribly vulgar way of speaking around my family. She never stopped, and we never got back together except for random hookups. However, I still miss her and deeply wish that, At some point, she would have promised me, okay, during family holidays for your family, I won't swear so much. She never did, and honestly, she never even felt that her loud and rude behavior was a problem, even after she became sober. I do not care about her language around me. She can curse all day and night long because that was part of why I liked her so much. However, if she showed up, got drunk, and began shouting English and Cantonese swear words at my 97-year-old grandmother, I could not deal with her lack of respect for my elders and the trouble I would face the next day when they harassed me about this rude girl you brought by. I never met her family, even though she talked late into the night in bed about all of them constantly. I would never show up, get drunk, and start shouting offensive words the first time she asked me to meet her family. I would be polite, quiet, and kind, and then later that night we could laugh over how polite I was. Am I the asshole? Laughing out loud. I mean, if she had shown up once or twice and been polite, almost everything would have been forgiven and overlooked since she was part of the family. Yet somehow, no matter what, she refused to even promise to try to be polite once or twice, and she never backed down. If you want to call me at 2 a.m. and tell me you love me, I am still happy to agree. However, you need to promise not to swear at my family in multiple languages the first time you meet them. Otherwise, I would get back together with her right now. I did and still do love her. She was just like hanging out with a loaded bomb. I was always worried about how she might act out in public. Story 24. Official relationship and no situationships or long-distance relationships. More than 10 years ago now, I joined the military, and she was having a hard time with the distance. I was going to marry her to bring us closer, but fortunately, it fell apart before then. Story 25. Yesterday, because he was only with me to use me, he was not a loyal person. Thank God I recognized him. Otherwise, he could have done whatever he wanted. Story 26. Short-term relationships with coworkers do not turn out well. So far, I am 2 for 2 with them not working out. Also, both of those coworkers are no longer employed there. I guess I might be toxic after all. Do not harm the company. Story 27. A few weeks ago, I had some social issues caused by my parents forcing me to be with people I did not really like. This made me think that I hate social gatherings. During the time we were together, this changed, and I realized the reason I was miserable all the time was because I did not have any friends and did not participate in social activities. Then she broke up with me because she felt I faked happiness every time I was at those events. Story 28. On October 1st last year, she suddenly gave too many disconnected reasons for wanting us to end. I did not let her go immediately. I went into investigation mode right away. I found out that she was flirting with her ex and that they were planning to get back together. So, I let her go immediately because I found her behavior unacceptable. 2 weeks later, she messaged me again, saying she caught the guy kissing another girl at a bar. I just laughed at her and moved on. Story 29. Around 2 months ago, she wanted me to be her everything and to be her sometimes. She did not want to commit after being in a relationship for 6 months, but also did not want me to fully leave. Story 30. 2020 was full of drama. I couldn't be nice anymore to someone treating me badly. He couldn't keep his hands to himself when he was angry, drunk, or high. Story 31. I was not at a point in my life where I could show up for a girlfriend, so we split up. I do not think that I will reach that point, to be perfectly honest. I am not exactly okay with being single, but I think I am coming to understand that it is probably best for everyone if I am. Story 32. Approximately 5 months ago, he said he lost feelings and that he viewed me more as a best friend rather than a romantic partner. Honestly, it has broken something in me. Story 33. After about 4 months, almost 6 months of knowing each other and being friends, she revealed to me that she realized she does not like men. Story 34. The hardest experience I have ever dealt with ended 3 weeks ago. She became pregnant in December of last year after we had been dating for almost 2 years, and we were both excited and fully invested. In March, she had a miscarriage. This completely changed everything. She withdrew into herself, and I felt like my world was ripped away when we lost the baby. However, I focused only on her and neglected my own grieving. Eventually, communication became impossible. We developed quiet resentments for each other and, no matter what, could not return to the way things were before. She ended the relationship 3 weeks ago, and there is nothing I can do to fix it. I just have to give her space and hope she can move on peacefully, so I can do the same. I know it is not healthy, but I hold out hope that we can rekindle our relationship years down the road. I have been in many relationships before, but there has only ever been one person who could make me melt in her eyes every time without fail. Life can be very difficult sometimes. Story 35. They kept picking fights about everything, saying I was annoyed at them when I was not. I felt like I could not just exist without doing something wrong. It was only a few months in, so it was not a big loss. Story 36. A year ago, for no reason, we stopped chatting and it ended this way. It is the most precious relationship in my life. Story 37. He grabbed me by the throat, and I could tell he wanted to slam my head against the wall of his apartment. As I walked outside to leave, he launched my favorite potted succulent straight up into the air while announcing to the world, "Yeah, go away. That was yesterday." Story 38. We got into a fight because I was starting to hate being around him sometimes. We could hardly spend time together without him feeling overwhelmed with white guilt and dysphoria since he is a transgender man. Eventually, I said that every time we talked, I stopped feeling like he cared about me. It felt like he was dating a cisgender man who made him unhappy for the sake of reparations, and it felt awful to be nothing but a way to apologize. The whole situation is even more painful because, to date, he has treated me better than any partner I have had. Story 39. A million tiny red flags and paper cuts. I have a habit of staying and telling myself everything is fine, until one day something seemingly not that big of a deal happens, but it feels like an escape route and I'm out. The escape route this time was when he went through customs at the airport without me, which caused me to be held back and questioned. I was supposed to be traveling with other people. When he finally messaged me to ask where I was, I told him I was upset that he left me behind and didn't even notice. Instead of apologizing or showing any care, he blamed me for not staying close. At that point, I just knew I was out. I didn't try to find him then. I just took the train home. He made sure to drop by my house and grab his vape and drop off the key before I got home though. I never saw him again. Story 40. 3 months ago, randomly at a nice restaurant, she said she did not feel loved because I was not going out to the club with her or doing things with her friends, even though it always just involved drinking. It felt the best ever because I got a job promotion and met the coolest group of friends through the thing she hated in my life, which was my personal computer. Story 41. Coming up on 1 month, I suppose. I told him I needed to take a mental health break for 8 hours due to an overwhelming period at work. When I came back, I was being ghosted and blocked on WhatsApp. I am still confused about what really happened. Story 42. Not sure when, but I think she said I was not entirely her type as far as something romantic goes. That said, we have since evolved into a deeply platonic relationship, and despite moving several states to the south, we text daily. She is like a big sister to me, incredibly supportive. Story 43. 2 years. Permanent, chronic, loud tinnitus resulted from a botched earwax irrigation procedure that damaged the ear hairs of my cochlea. My girlfriend could not deal with the stress of me adapting to my new situation alongside my social withdrawal to process the change. I suppose I lost my value in her eyes. Oh well, this confirms that in sickness and in health would not apply from her side. It turns out you can adapt quite well to it. Story 44. I told him not to lose himself to addiction because I would have to leave him as my presence would only enable him. He took it as if I see him as a deadbeat. Of course, it ended with him claiming that I am the problem, that I am spiteful and vindictive. Story 45. She wanted to move in together and start a family. I realized that was my idea of hell with that particular woman. Story 46. 6 years ago. I do not actually know. He never gave me a reason, but it should have ended much sooner. Story 47. My girlfriend had never been in a relationship with a single father. She couldn't accept that my children came first. My mother was dying, so my priority was my family, not her. My girlfriend ended the relationship 4 days after my mother passed away. That was a long time ago. I have not had a girlfriend since. I'm not sure why. I am happy with how things are. I do things I enjoy. Story 48. She was talking about me to her mother, and I was supportive of her reconnecting with her father. Her mother was happy with that, but she messes it up every time. Story 49. He was influenced by his friends to break up with me. Then his friends said things to him, and he came to me and broke up with me. Nowadays, he should be giving it to his friend, but apparently not. I hope his friend jumps off a bridge so he can go too. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.